7 money rules the rich don't want you to know about. A lot of people think that designer brands are targeting the rich, but they're actually targeting the middle class. We watched this video of Louis Vuitton shoppers being interviewed, and something interesting about these videos is the shoppers at Louis Vuitton actually aren't often super rich. They're usually middle class people trying to look rich. And these designer brands often gift their products to celebrities and influencers. So oftentimes if you see a celebrity or influencer wearing designer products, they're not usually buying them. And I know that sometimes you do need to purchase liabilities for whatever reason, but if you can find a way to purchase a liability for a discount, or even find a way to make that liability tax deductible, then that can save you a lot of money. I've recently started a small change portfolio. So whenever I receive some unexpected money, I put half of it in a bank account to spend and I invest the other half. So far, my small change portfolio is worth $349. So make sure you subscribe so you can see how this amount grows. And if you would like to get started investing, you can download my completely free cheat sheet below. The next rule is to think more like a producer rather than a consumer. If you spend all of your time researching the best things to buy, then you're probably going to spend a lot of money. However, if you allocate some of your time to providing value for other people to buy and studying financial literacy, then that's when you can really start building your wealth. And the first step is to calculate your net worth. And you can find this out by looking at your assets minus your liabilities. In order to build your net worth over time, you want to increase the amount of assets that you have and decrease the amount of liabilities that you have. Don't worry if your net worth isn't exactly where you'd like it to be. When I first started my wealth building journey 7 years ago, my net worth was actually negative. But it's good to calculate because this can give you a starting point and you can always improve over time. And if you would like to calculate your own net worth, you can check out my free net worth tracker below. The next rule is to buy quality over quantity. Not only is it more sustainable to buy quality items that will last you a lot longer, but it's actually also good for your wallet as well. How many times have you purchased something that was really cheap but didn't actually perform the way that it was supposed to, or broke down way quicker than you expected? This has definitely happened to me before. There is this really interesting theory called the Boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness. The basic premise of the Boots theory is a really good pair of boots will last you a lot longer than an okay, more affordable pair of boots. And not only that, because you don't have to replace this pair of boots every single year because you are purchasing a more quality item, this will actually save you more money over the long term. And I have this real life story of the Boots theory in action. During the summer, we often go to the beach, and what we noticed is there are so many people with cool cabanas. We really wanted a cool cabana, but they're so expensive. So we found a dupe cool cabana for 1/3 of the price. We were so happy we found this bargain. However, every time that we went to the beach and we put up our dupe cool cabana, it would shake in the wind, it wouldn't stay down, and the first time we put it up, it actually got a hole in the fabric. After just 3 uses, we had to put this dupe in the bin, and we ended up buying a cool cabana anyway, which is so much better quality. When you buy something, it's really important to consider the long-term cost per use. Some items may look cheap on the surface, but as soon as you start to do a bit of digging, you'll actually realize that they are more expensive per use than the more expensive item. For example, the dupe cool cabana cost $16 per use, but the more expensive cool cabana only costed $5 per use. Because even though the cool cabana was more expensive to purchase upfront, it's better quality and will last us a lot longer, and this reduces the cost per use. The next lesson is to remember that wealth takes time to build, and there's no such thing as an overnight success. Wealth is a little bit like a snowball. You start building wealth with a little snowball the size of your hand, and as you start rolling that snowball down a mountain, it starts to build momentum. The bigger the mountain and the more time that you have your snowball to grow, the bigger it will grow. And wealth is also the same. It's really easy to get caught up in the hype that you can become a millionaire overnight, but unfortunately, that's just not the way that wealth works. And there's this really interesting chart that we can see from Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is a billionaire and he's one of the richest people in the world, but he didn't become one of the wealthiest people in the world overnight. As you can see from this graph, it definitely wasn't a linear progression. It was more like an exponential progression. And you can really see from this graph that most of his wealth was actually built after the age of 50 because he was able to start building his wealth really early in life. That is what has enabled him to have such a high net worth today. The next tip is to save time on decisions that don't really matter and to spend more time thinking about decisions that will actually matter. There's this really interesting principle called the door principle. Imagine there are two doors. In the first door, once you open it, you can only keep going forward. You can't go back the other way. The other door is a bit more like a revolving door. Once you go through that door, you can easily decide to go back out that door if you don't like what you see. And decisions are exactly the same. There are some decisions where if you make the wrong decision, you can actually easily come back. However, there are other decisions where once you make that decision, you can't really come back from it. So it's important to consider whether the choice that you're making today has long-term ramifications that can't be adjusted. A really interesting lesson is that billionaires actually don't spend a lot of time looking at the menus for what exactly they should eat. They often just ask the waiter or the waitress what the best thing to eat is and then order that. I recently started doing this whenever I get lunch out, and honestly, it is a really good way to save time on decision making. I went to Taco Tuesday and I asked the waitress what were the best tacos that they had, and she gave me some really good recommendations that I honestly wouldn't have picked myself. The next lesson is to consider the opportunity cost of money. Try to find ways to spend or invest your money so that it can be worth more money over time. Let's say, for example, you just received $200. You can choose to spend 100% of that $200 on, let's say, a new pair of shoes. After 10 years, you probably won't even still have that pair of shoes. However, if you decide to spend 50% of that $200 on something nice, for example, maybe going out to a nice restaurant, and if you decided to invest the other $100 into an ETF that gets an average return of 8%, then after 10 years, you could potentially double your money. And after 30 years, you could potentially 10x your money. Or you could even choose to invest that $100 in a business. My first investment in this YouTube channel was actually a $90 lav mic. And now this YouTube channel has turned into a real business that employs me, my partner Pablo, and our new editor Julian. So you really never know where a side hustle could take you. And the final lesson is to think long term. Think about all the things that you do every single day. If you keep doing these things, where will you be in 5 years? For example, if you don't brush your teeth for a day, then it probably won't matter. But if you don't brush your teeth every day for 5 years, then it probably will matter. And the same goes for building wealth. If you don't invest 1 month, then it doesn't really matter. But if you don't invest every single month for 5 years, that's when it will really start to matter. Thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget I have created a free net worth tracker which you can check out below, and a free investing cheat sheet that you can also check out below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!